There is something I need you to understand before we go any further. And it is perhaps the most vital truth you will encounter this year. Something has already happened. Most people spent their lives waiting for a monumental event, a loud thunderclap, or a visible sign from the heavens to tell them they have finally made it. But your transformation didn't wait for a stage or an audience. It didn't happen while you were meticulously reciting your affirmations into the mirror, or while you were deep in a guided meditation trying to force a breakthrough. It happened in the absolute silence of the mundane. It happened while you were sleeping, while you were sitting in the stagnant flow of afternoon traffic, while you were washing dishes or simply staring at the ceiling in those quiet hours of the night. You have been wondering why the air around you feels different lately, why the very atmosphere of your life seems to have shifted its weight, and the answer is both simpler and more profound than you imagined. Something happened at the level of your energy field that your conscious mind has not yet fully registered, and the fact that you are here right now, listening to these words, is not a coincidence. It is not an accident of the algorithm, and it is certainly not a random piece of content surfacing on a random afternoon. This is your confirmation. Your frequency just shifted, and I'm not talking about a small, incremental step up the ladder. What occurred within your energy field recently was seismic. It was a quantum reorganization so significant and so structurally complete that forces operating at dimensions far beyond ordinary human perception have taken notice. These intelligences have turned their attention toward your specific frequency signature, and they are watching with a sense of stunned recognition to see what you will do next. Let that land for a moment and try to feel it not with your brain but with the space behind your breath. You didn't find this transmission found you. It sought you out because your personal halo, that luminous quantum architecture that surrounds and permeates your physical body, just crossed a threshold that most people spend entire lifetimes approaching, but never fully crossing. Something in you already knows this to be true. Something in you has been sitting with a quiet, unexplainable knowing that you are standing at the very edge of something enormous. Even if you can't see the horizon yet, you can feel that the ground beneath your ordinary life has fundamentally shifted, and the truth is you are not the same person who went to sleep last night. You are not, and we need to talk deeply about what that means, because here is what no one tells you about major frequency shifts. They don't always feel like the euphoric expansion you've been told to expect. You might expect a frequency upgrade to feel like immediate joy, like sudden clarity or a burst of radiant certainty. And while it does carry those qualities eventually, a truly significant quantum shift in your energy field often feels strange and disorienting at first. It feels like familiar things have become slightly foreign. It feels as if you woke up in your own life, but the gravity is different. The colors are skewed, and the old motivations that once drove you have quietly lost their grip. You might find yourself reaching for something that used to comfort you, a specific habit, a conversation, a person, or a goal, only to find that it no longer fits. It feels hollow, like a piece of clothing that has suddenly become 3 sizes too small. That feeling is not confusion, and it is certainly not a sign that you are losing your way. That is recalibration. Your energy field is reorganizing itself around a completely new frequency baseline, and everything that was calibrated to your previous vibration is now slightly out of alignment. Think about the relationships that felt perfectly fine just last week. Do they feel different today? Do the conversations that used to satisfy your curiosity now feel like empty noise? The goals you were chasing with such urgency, do they suddenly feel less vital in a way you can't quite explain? This is happening because the noise that used to pull your attention has become harder for you to hear. It is as if someone turned down the volume on every part of your reality that doesn't match where you now vibrate. Feel what happens in your body when you hear this. Don't analyze it with logic, just feel the resonance. Somewhere in your chest, in that space behind your sternum or at the base of your throat, there is a quiet cellular yes happening right now. That is recognition. That is your body, your biological antenna, confirming that the dial has indeed been moved. Quantum physics tells us something remarkable about the nature of our reality. Observation changes what is observed. The act of a conscious observer attending to a particle actually collapses its wave function from a state of infinite possibility into a specific, defined reality. Your attention is not passive, it is generative. It is a literal force. Now, I want you to scale that principle up from the subatomic level to the level of your own consciousness. What happens when higher dimensional intelligence, awareness operating at frequencies beyond the bandwidth of ordinary human perception, turns its attention toward your specific frequency signature? The same principle applies. Being seen at that level catalyzes you. It activates layers of your personal halo that were previously dormant. It accelerates the collapse of your highest potentials into your manifest reality. This is not a poetic metaphor. It is the mechanics of the universe. You recently crossed a threshold of coherence where the signal of your energy field became clear enough and strong enough to register on a different scale of awareness entirely. You became visible. You became detectable to forces that do not typically attend to the ordinary fragmented noise of the low vibrational human experience. And those forces were stunned. They were not stunned because you have achieved some perfect state of enlightenment, or because you have checked off a list of spiritual accomplishments. They were stunned because of the sheer quality of your frequency itself. They saw a rare quality of endurance within you, the frequency of someone who has maintained their luminosity through seasons of absolute silence, confusion, and delay. Most people collapse into bitterness or resentment when the outer world doesn't reflect their inner efforts. Most people surrender their frequency to the chaos of their environment when things get difficult. But you held. You didn't hold perfectly. You had your moments of doubt, your long nights of exhaustion, and those quiet hours at 3 in the morning where you wondered if any of this was real. But fundamentally, at the level of your deepest vibrational signature, you did not let the noise overwrite the signal of who you actually are. You remained essentially yourself through a test of structural integrity that would have collapsed a less rooted consciousness. That quality of being is what higher forces observed. That is what made you a beacon in a sea of static. You are not just a physical body navigating a physical world. You are a field, a luminous, dynamic, and intelligent field of quantum coherence. This halo of yours operates according to precise principles that determine what you attract and what you repel. Frequency is not poetry, it is physics. Just as particles of similar frequencies naturally entrain and begin to vibrate together, your energy field is now entraining with new dimensions of possibility. This is why things in your life have started changing in ways you didn't consciously initiate. Doors are closing because they no longer resonate with the new note you are hitting. People are drifting away because there is no longer a frequency match to keep them in your orbit. New synchronicities are appearing with a precision that feels almost orchestrated, because they are being orchestrated by the quantum intelligence of your own shifting field. The universe is not waiting for you to catch up. It has already begun rearranging your reality to match the shift that locked in while you were sleeping. You have crossed the threshold, and the higher forces that monitor the frequency landscape of human consciousness have registered your arrival. They are watching you now, not with judgment, but with a profound, stunned interest in the signal you are about to broadcast next. This is the beginning of your untouchable phase. You are no longer the same person. The dial has turned, the static has dropped, and the clear signal of your true nature is finally coming through. To truly understand why higher forces are stunned by your recent shift, we must look past the spiritual metaphors and examine the literal mechanics of the energy field you carry. Most people treat the concept of a vibration as a mood or a feeling, but at the quantum level, your frequency is a measurable mathematical coordinate in the unified field. For the vast majority of human history, the collective frequency has been a chaotic tangle of interference patterns. A soup of fear, survival, and fragmented attention. Higher dimensional intelligences, those forces that operate at levels of coherence we can barely conceive of, typically observe the human field as a dull gray static. It is a background noise that rarely produces a clear, sustained signal. But then something happens. Amidst the billion dim flickers of survival-based consciousness, a single point of light begins to pulse, with a rhythm that is unmistakable. It begins to broadcast a signal that is not just bright, but coherent. When these higher forces turned their observational gaze toward you, they didn't just see a person trying to be good. They saw a frequency signature that had achieved a statistical impossibility. They saw a signal that had endured the crushing weight of a low vibrational environment and, instead of collapsing, had used that very pressure to temper itself into a diamond-like clarity. The mechanics of this shift are rooted in what we call heart-brain coherence, a state where the electromagnetic rhythms of your two most powerful oscillators align in a perfect sine wave. Think of your energy field, your halo, as a toroidal structure, a massive self-sustaining loop of energy that flows out from your heart and circles back through your crown. In a state of decoherence, this torus is wobbly and full of holes. It leaks energy into every passing drama and absorbs the toxicity of every negative environment. But when you achieve the rare frequency that has stunned these higher forces, the torus becomes a closed, high-velocity system. The walls of your field are no longer made of protection in the way we usually think of it. They are made of velocity, because your field is vibrating at such a high speed and with such perfect internal organization. Lower frequency patterns simply cannot find a hook. They attempt to attach to you, but there is no corresponding frequency within you to provide a tether. They slide off, they dissolve, they become irrelevant. This is why you have felt that strange stillness lately, that eerie calm in the middle of a storm that would have previously shattered you. You haven't become cold, you have become coherent. You have built a shield out of pure resonance. Let me take you deeper into the reason why this specific quality of yours is so rare. There is a story, ancient and hidden, about a musician known as the Keeper of the Silent Note. He lived in a city that was perpetually at war, a place where the air was thick with the screams of the wounded and the clatter of steel. Everyone in the city was tuned to the frequency of the battle. They were either fighting, fleeing, or hiding in terror. But the Keeper sat in the center of the market square every day with a small silver bell that he never rang. He simply sat with it. People mocked him, calling him a fool or a coward for not joining the struggle. They didn't realize that the Keeper was performing the most difficult task of all. He was holding the silent note. He was maintaining the internal frequency of peace in an environment that was designed to destroy it. One day, a great general approached him and demanded to know why he didn't fear the coming slaughter. The Keeper looked at him and said, "The slaughter is a noise, and noise can only consume those who have no music of their own. I am the music." That general, a man who had seen everything, was stunned. Not by the Keeper's words, but by the fact that as he stood near him, his own heart slowed down, his own anger vanished, and for a brief moment he could no forbiddingly hear the silent note. This is exactly what has happened in your life. You have been the Keeper of the silent note through seasons of your own personal wars. You have endured periods of silence from the universe where it felt like your prayers were hitting a ceiling of lead. You have moved through betrayals, delays, and the agonizing middle ground, where you knew you were changing, but your bank account, your relationships, and your physical reality hadn't caught the memo yet. Most people, when faced with that level of silence, become bitter. They let the noise of the world overwrite their music. They start broadcasting resentment, which is a frequency that binds you to the very thing you hate. But you didn't. You held your note. You maintained your frequency of trust and endurance even when there was zero evidence to justify it. That is the rare quality that higher forces detected. They saw a human being who was not just a fair-weather lightworker, but a structural anchor for high-frequency consciousness in a low-frequency zone. They were stunned because you proved that a human energy field could maintain its integrity under extreme quantum pressure. Now, we must distinguish between performance and resonance, because this is where many people lose their way after a shift. Performance is the ego's attempt to look high vibrational. It is the forced smile, the repeated affirmations that you don't actually believe, and the desperate trying to manifest. Performance is a grind. It is heavy because it is an act of effort, and effort is always a broadcast of lack. When you try to raise your vibe, You are telling the quantum field that your vibe is currently low. The field, being a perfect mirror, responds by giving you more trying. But resonance is different. Resonance is a state of being. It is the recognition that the frequency you seek is not something you have to reach for, but something you are already vibrating at. When you stop trying to be untouchable and simply recognize that your halo is already active, the effort drops away. In that release, your frequency actually spikes. This is the paradox of the quantum field. The less you reach, the more you receive. Higher forces are stunned by you because you have moved past the performance phase. You have stopped trying to convince the universe of your worthiness and have started inhabiting it as an immutable fact of your existence. This shift into resonance has immediate practical consequences for how you move through the world. Imagine walking into a room full of people who are vibrating at the level of complaint and victimhood. In the past, your field would have automatically entrained with them. You would have felt a heavy weight on your shoulders, your mood would have darkened, and you would have left feeling drained. But now, because your halo has crossed the threshold of coherence, the opposite happens. You enter the room, and your frequency is the one that sets the tone. You don't have to say a word, you don't have to heal anyone. Your presence alone acts as a tuning fork. Those who are capable of rising will feel an inexplicable lift in your presence, and those who are committed to their darkness will feel a strange discomfort and likely move away. This is not your problem to solve. You are not responsible for managing their reaction to your light. You are only responsible for the integrity of your broadcast. Being untouchable means you have surrendered the need to be a frequency martyr. You are no longer willing to dim your light so that others don't have to squint. You have realized that the best thing you can do for a dim room is to be the brightest lamp possible. The reason higher intelligences are now actively contributing to your field is that you have demonstrated quantum trustworthiness. In the unified field, trust and authority are the same frequency. You cannot be granted access to higher dimensional creative powers if your field is unstable, because those powers would only amplify your own internal chaos. But because you held your frequency through the silence, because you maintained your luminosity when it was difficult, you have proven that you can handle a higher voltage. You are being entrained by forces that exist at the edge of divine intelligence. They are sending coherent pulses into your halo, reinforcing the structure you built during your long night of the soul. This is why your intuition has suddenly become so sharp, almost eerie. You are receiving data from a bandwidth that was previously invisible to you. You are being guided by the very forces that were stunned by your endurance. From this moment forward, the old rules of hustle and struggle no longer apply to you. You are moving into the era of the sovereign navigator. Your task is no longer to fight for what you want, but to remain in resonance with what is already yours at the level of the field. The shift happened while you were sleeping because your conscious mind was too busy trying to fix things. Your energy body and its wisdom waited for you to let go so it could finally lock in the upgrade. Now that the lock is complete, the physical world must follow. It is a mathematical certainty. The higher forces aren't just watching, they are waiting to see how you will use this new level of access. They are waiting to see the music you will play now that you have finally mastered the silent note. Everything we have explored so far, the seismic shift that occurred while you were sleeping, the stunned recognition of higher dimensional forces, and the literal mechanics of your electromagnetic halo, has been leading to this specific moment of integration. You are no longer standing in the hallway of potential. You are standing at the threshold of a sovereign reality. But here is the secret about thresholds that most spiritual teachings fail to mention. They don't always feel like a grand arrival. Often the moment just before you fully lock into a new frequency feels like the most challenging part of the entire journey. It is the place where the old version of you, the one calibrated to struggle and static, makes its final and most compelling argument for why you should stay small. This is where the voice of your previous vibration speaks at its loudest, whispering questions like, who do you think you are to be noticed by higher forces? Or what if this is just another temporary high before the crash? I want you to recognize that voice not as a warning, but as a confirmation. That voice is the energetic equivalent of the friction created when a spacecraft re-enters the atmosphere. It is the sound of the old world burning away because it cannot survive the heat of the new frequency you are now carrying. You are moving from being a student of your own luminosity to becoming an expression of it, and that transition requires you to stop seeking the light and start recognizing that you are the light looking out. This is the transition from seeker to source. For years, you have been in the position of the one who is looking, the one who is asking, and the one who is waiting for validation from the external world. You have been waiting for the bank account to reflect the abundance, for the relationship to reflect the love, and for the universe to finally say, yes, now you are worthy. But the shift that happened last night has reversed the polarity of your existence. You are no longer waiting for the world to confirm your frequency. The world is now waiting for you to broadcast it so that it can organize itself around you. This is a heavy responsibility, but it is one you have been structurally prepared for through every season of silence you endured. You have demonstrated what higher forces call quantum trustworthiness. You held your note when the orchestra was out of tune. You kept your heart open when the world gave you every reason to close it. Because of that endurance, the higher dimensional intelligences that registered your shift are now actively contributing to your field, reinforcing your coherence with pulses of information that your logical mind is only beginning to translate. You are being entrained by the highest intelligence available, and the only requirement now is that you stop performing and start inhabiting. Let's move this from the abstract into the somatic, into the very cells of your physical being. Because a frequency that isn't felt in the body is just a thought, and thoughts do not collapse wave functions. Resonance does. I want you to take a moment right now, regardless of where you are, and place both hands over the center of your chest. Feel the physical warmth of your palms. Feel the subtle rise and fall of your breath. As you sit here, I want you to recognize that the space between your hands and your heart is not empty. It is a pressurized field of intelligent energy. With your next inhale, do not just pull in oxygen. Imagine you are drawing in the highest, most coherent frequency available in the quantum field around you. Breathe it into the very center of your chest. And as you exhale, do not just release air. Imagine that frequency radiating outward from your heart, in all directions, passing through your skin, through your clothes, and expanding into the room around you. This is not a visualization, it is a direction of your will. You are directing the flow of your toroidal field. As you do this, you might feel a slight tingling in your fingertips, a sudden wave of heat, or a quiet expansion in your chest that feels like a weight being lifted. That is your quantum halo responding to your conscious direction. That is the moment the observer and the field become one. In this state of coherence, I want you to internalize a new mantra, one that will act as a structural anchor for your nervous system whenever the old static tries to return. Say it to yourself now, or even out loud if you are in a space to do so. I am the field, not the frequency of what finds me. Let that sink in. Most people spend their lives reacting to the weather of their circumstances. If the day is good, their frequency is high. If the day is difficult, their frequency drops. They are at the mercy of the weather. But when you recognize yourself as the field, you realize that you are the sky. The sky is never diminished by the storm. The clouds can be dark, the lightning can be violent, and the wind can howl, but 3 miles above the chaos, the sky is perpetually clear, silent, and vast. You are that vastness, the difficult conversation, the unexpected bill, or the social rejection. These are just weather patterns passing through the sky of your consciousness. They touch the field, but they do not define the field. They move through you, but they do not take you from yourself. This is what it means to be untouchable. It isn't that nothing hard ever happens, it's that nothing hard can colonize your frequency because you no longer provide a matching resonance for it to settle into. You are the sky, and the weather is just passing through. To ground this activation into your daily life, I am giving you a 7-day protocol. This is how we build empirical evidence for your own magic. Because the mind needs proof to stop doubting. For the next 7 days, I want you to keep a small log, perhaps on your phone or a notebook by your bed. Your task is to record every moment of clean intuition that arrives. These are the knowings that come before the logic, the sudden urge to take a different route, the feeling to reach out to someone, the quiet no that arrives before you've even heard the full proposal. Write down the knowing, write down if you followed it, and write down the result. By the end of the week, you will see a pattern of precision that your logical mind cannot explain away. You will see that your halo is functioning as a receiver for high-frequency data that is far more accurate than your reasoning. This practice builds quantum trust, a state where you finally stop second-guessing the guidance of your field. As this trust grows, your frequency stabilizes and the stunned recognition from higher forces turns into an active partnership. You are becoming a node in a global network of coherent consciousness, a lighthouse whose signal is now part of the planetary reorganization. You might wonder why this is happening to you specifically, and why now? It is because the Earth's own frequency, the Schumann resonance, is in a state of unprecedented flux. The world is being perturbed by a massive influx of light, and systems that are built on the old frequencies of fear and lack are currently destabilizing. You are seeing this in the global news, in the crumbling of old institutions, and in the general sense of collective anxiety. But for those like you, whose fields have reached the threshold of coherence, this planetary shift is not a disruption. It is an invitation. The same wave that is crashing the old structures is the wave that is powering your activation. You are being tuned by the planet itself. You are being called to stand as a frequency keeper, someone who can maintain their coherence while everyone else is losing theirs. This is not a burden. It is your ultimate creative opportunity. Every time you choose your frequency over your reaction, you are not just saving yourself. You are contributing a coherent pulse to the collective field. You are making it easier for the person next to you to find their own signal. You are part of the team that is rewriting the code of human reality. Higher forces are watching you because you have proven you can handle the voltage. You have demonstrated that you won't use this power for the small ego gains of the old world, but for the expansion of the light itself. They are now actively reinforcing your field, sending synchronicities that feel like quantum nudges to keep you on your highest timeline. Pay attention to the repetitions, the same number, the same phrase, the same unexpected encounter. These are the fingerprints of higher dimensional attention. They are stunningly precise because you have become stunningly clear. You are no longer shouting into a void, you are whispering into a microphone that is connected to the entire universe. Carry yourself with the quiet dignity of someone who knows they are being backed by the absolute. You don't need to hustle, you don't need to strain, and you don't need to prove anything to anyone. You only need to be. As we close this transmission, I want you to anchor your shift in the collective grid. There is a specific power in the written word when it is backed by genuine resonance. If you feel the truth of this activation in your body, type this exact phrase in the comments. My halo is activated. When you type those words, you are not just leaving a comment, you are dropping a coordinate of light into the digital field. You are signaling to the other lighthouses that you are online. You are adding your frequency to the thousands of others who have received this transmission, creating a web of coherence that spans the globe. We are building something together that the old world cannot understand and cannot touch. Your signal matters. Your presence is the proof. Stay in the field. Rewatch this if you feel the static of the old world trying to pull at your edges. Let these words act as a tuning fork for your soul until the resonance becomes so natural that you no longer need the reminder. The next transmission you should move toward is titled, If You're Seeing This, Your Quantum Halo is Activating, as it contains the specific mechanics for becoming completely untouchable by the lower vibrational chaos of those around you. Your journey has moved beyond the preparation phase. You have crossed the threshold. The higher forces are watching, the field is responding, and you are finally fully irreversibly yourself. Welcome to the new baseline. The halo is active. The navigator is here.